Welcome to today's video. Please share, like, and subscribe. If you've been following this blog, you know I had a rough childhood with narcissistic parents and a brother who was jealous and rejected me. I decided to cut them out of my life and never regretted it. It's been a process, but turning to the Torah has helped me heal. As you would know, if you have experienced something similar, healing does not mean the memories go away. It only means that your past no longer affects your well-being daily, but your past can still trigger you, and sometimes in a pretty unexpected way. When Lost came out in 2004, I was a massive fan. I used to watch Lost in my apartment in Tromsø, trying to figure out what would happen to Locke, Jack, and Desmond, and if they would ever get off that island. At the same time, my life was a mess. I worked full-time in Tromsø for ISS Facility Service, desperately trying to fill that hole of fatherly love and acceptance by committing myself 100% to the job. As of late, I decided to revisit Lost on Netflix, a show I had not seen since 2004. Despite being aware of its disappointing ending, I was engrossed in the storyline. Unexpectedly, the show triggered deeply rooted emotions within me. In an instant, I felt emotionally vulnerable, reminiscent of the determined individual striving to prove my worth to my father despite feeling inadequate. These emotions were fueled by the repetitive messages from my parents and brother that I internalized. Faced with this trigger, I realized I had two choices: to succumb to its impact or to resist its influence consciously. In my experience with mainstream Christianity, I was taught that resisting its influence was impossible due to the concept of sinful nature. The prescribed solution was to give it to Jesus and let him take the wheel and guide me. However, I had already tried this approach years before I embraced the Torah, and I knew it would not be effective for me. Upon studying the Bible, I found a different perspective that suggested I could resist triggers because there is no such thing as a sinful nature, and the key to resisting is the Torah. So this is what I did when I was triggered. I did what the Torah says we are to do: turn to Jehovah our God. We Christians love to have a specific formula prayer we can all use in situations like these. This is obvious considering how many different Christian books there are on formulas and prayers to say in various conditions. But in this situation, I only did what the Bible says in both the Old and the New Testaments. Those who call upon the name of Jehovah shall be saved. So this is what I did. I only said Jehovah, then a wave of relief came over me and I was no longer triggered. This brings me to another important point. Do you believe we merit anything from God? If you had asked most Christians, including myself, this question a couple of years ago, I would have said that we only deserve wrath. I remember back then how difficult it was to trust God would answer my prayers or desire to give me anything good because I did not deserve anything. So, it is fair to say that in the old days of my Christian walk, my image of God resembled my biological father in many ways. After getting into the Torah, I started feeling that we deserve something from Jehovah as long as we live by the Torah. It's easier for me to trust God to hear my prayers when I believe we deserve something. It's a fundamental shift from when I used to think we only deserved wrath. And when I'm triggered by something like Lost, it's so much easier to believe that Jehovah wants me to break free, conquer it, and still enjoy the show, even though it has a frustrating ending. The idea that we deserve only wrath is a cornerstone of Christian theology. And in many ways, the doctrine of salvation at the cross hinges on this. To accept that we can deserve something from Jehovah as long as we live by the Torah is a fundamental shift that we must be able to prove can be backed up by the Bible. In Matthew 6, Jesus says, "If you live by the Torah, you won't have anything to worry about." This is a direct quote from Deuteronomy 28, which promises that following the Torah will bring good things and peace of mind. It seems like we can get help from Jehovah as long as we stick to the Torah. Then there is another side to this, because when Jesus lived, the Bible he had consisted only of the 5 books of Moses and the prophets. So when Jesus says what he says here in Matt 6, his listeners instantly recognize Deut 28, which also vividly describes the wrath that will come upon those who do not obey the Torah. So, in a sense, mainstream Christianity is correct to say they deserve only wrath because they have rejected the Torah. But for those who have embraced the Torah, we know and believe what the Bible says, that those who live by the Torah have merited only good things from Jehovah. So when something like Lost triggers me, or I have a need, it is easy for me to receive Jehovah's help because I live by the Torah. And I believe those who do have earned his help. Please share, like, and subscribe. And until next time, God bless.